All right, so today we are going to make a plan for our picture. So we went in and we researched where the picture happened. We talked about the culture of the area where it happened. We did research on what it looked like in that area by finding pictures. And you compiled all of that on your research graphic organizer. And then you worked on it and you handed it in. Now you're going to take your imagination and add it to your research. So these two things are going to combine, and we're going to start brainstorming the plot of our narrative story. Here's our objective for today. It says, using our research graphic organizer and photo for inspiration, we will plan out the narrative story while making sure to include the plot elements of the story. So you're going to look at your picture and you're going to look at it deeply and imagine that you are in that picture. Think about, what do you see? How does it feel? Who are you? Who's there with you? And you want to tell a story. When we tell a story, we use the elements of a story or the plot. And these are the different elements of the story, and we did this in the beginning of the year. Everybody wrote it down in their notebook, and we did it about the Eve Bunting story with the fire and the little cat. And we drew it in our notebooks. Here's what you're going to do. You're just going to do it on the computer today. Is you're going to think about what happens in my story? What is the big problem and how does it get solved? And then you're going to fill in the pieces here. So your problem would probably the biggest, most intense part of it. Like if there is a fire in your story, then the biggest part would be maybe when the characters escape from the fire. Then you're going to back it up. What leads up to the fire? Then in the beginning, the exposition, you put the characters that are there, where it is. A lot of the exposition will come from your research. And then the falling action is when the problem gets solved, and the resolution is the ending. And it doesn't have to be happily ever after, but it's how it ends. You're going to put it into a form like this. Beginning, middle, end, and then the theme or the lesson. So in the beginning, you're going to have the elements of the setting, the characters. In the middle, you're going to have a problem and how the problem gets worse. And at the end, you're going to show how the problem gets solved. Let's write that out so that we remember. The beginning, we're going to have the setting, the characters, and you're going to learn and use a lot of the research you did before. In the middle, you're going to have a problem, and the problem is going to get worse. I'm thinking of the image of the people camping in the cave. Maybe there's some kind of image where they get stuck in the cave, or someone gets lost in the cave, and that's a problem. There's also a number of them on a train. Maybe something happens and the train breaks, or the children get lost in the train or something. And then the end is when the problem is solved. And it doesn't have to be a happy ending. It's up to you. What you do want to think about is what lesson you're teaching with your story, which might dictate to you or tell you what kind of ending you need. Then the theme and the lesson is, what can a reader learn from your story? I gave you an example on Google Classroom. So now I'm going to show you technically where you find this assignment and where the resources are. So on Google Classroom, underneath the Nat Geo Narrative Writing Project, you're going to find today's date, and it's going to say Narrative Plan. When you open this assignment, you're going to see that it made you a copy of the narrative plan. Your copy has more support in it. So when you open your copy, it's going to give you a checklist. So just like what I typed, and then you're going to type your answers in blue and use the checklist to help you. If you need more help, you're going to check out the other resources. The copy of the PowerPoint I used is here. And then here's my copy for my story. You're welcome to use my example to help you. Notice that when I did my copy, I used the checklist. So my descriptions go in order of the checklist. Train station, middle of the afternoon, hot and humid. I used my research for this one. I made up my characters myself though. I described the first character as Sumi. Then I described the character that you can't see in the picture is her new husband. And I gave a little background on why they were at the train station. This is from my research. This is from my imagination. Now this gets more into my imagination, but I used my research to help me. So the problem that I decided on having is that Sumi, the woman in my picture, wants to go to college. But I did research on gender roles in Bangladesh, and a lot of women don't go to college, and they tend to get married and raise a family. So I decided that that would be the conflict. I describe it in detail, and then I needed a way to solve the problem because obviously I wanted there to be a tension or a problem that she wants to go to college, her husband does not want her to. And then I resolved it by having a beggar that the husband knows come into the story, and he sort of reflects on how he treats other people and decides that she should be able to go to college and achieve her dreams. And that's what I describe at the end. Then I came up with 2 lessons that I think my story shows. That in order to add positivity to the world, it's important to reevaluate your ideals. That was maybe what the husband learned. And then this is what I thought the wife could learn, or Sumi. Be kind and compassionate. Being kind and compassionate can serve others as well as yourself. So you can use my example to help you, but you should also make sure that you are using your photo. What might also be helpful is if you put your photo at the top of this narrative plan, it might inspire you. I had mine open on another tab. If you have any questions, please let us know. Otherwise, you can get started.